Joe Budden is a porch primate, clutching his robe over his naked cheeks, talking about the neighbors who live better than him. Curtis Jackson is a man so addicted to conflict that he mistakes cruelty against Black women for relevance in a white world. And Stephen A. Smith's Black pride and so called respect for Black women is more compromised than a BLM mural in a police station. Stephen A. Smith is known for his absurdist sports commentary, and in recent years, he has built a reputation and following for his constant, rage filled, screaming meltdowns about Black women in sports and beyond. His rants are ritual humiliation disguised as wisdom and insight. For his mostly white male audience, Stephen A. Smith has long positioned himself as a truth teller, the man unafraid to say what others will not. But what he says, and more importantly, who he says it about, constantly reveals a deeper loyalty to white supremacy disguised as objectivity. His repeated public attacks on Black women in sports, journalism, and politics serve as a performance of dominance meant to reassure white audiences and corporate gatekeepers that he can keep other Black people, especially outspoken Black women, in line. He is reinforcing the idea that Black women's confidence and cultural fluency are threats to white respectability, aka traditional American values. That posture is not accidental. It is a feature of white centered media systems that reward Black men who performatively discipline Black women on their behalf. Stephen A's success depends on that behavior. His rants become viral, his brand grows, and ESPN and XM radio continue to profit from the spectacle of a Black man whipping Black women for being too loud, too proud, too smart, too independent, too sexy, or too visible. It is the economy of racial hierarchy playing out in real time. By siding with white respectability politics over solidarity with Black women, Stephen A becomes a token in the very systems that work overtime to silence and humiliate both Black women and Black men. His commentary operates as cultural gatekeeping, reinforcing the message that Black women can exist in power only if they perform it in a way that comforts white sensibilities. A reoccurring target of Stephen A's is Angel Reese, the LSU basketball star who led her team to a national title and later joined the WNBA. Not long ago, Angel Reese expressed a bold dream. She wanted people to wear her upcoming signature Reebok sneakers just like how they wear Jordans everywhere. This comment was an aspirational wish about her future success and legacy. But Smith pounced on it. He went on air and mocked Angel Reese's ambitions. He wanted to humiliate her for having the audacity to imagine greatness. It is a familiar pattern in Stephen A's work. Find a confident Black woman and interpret her ambition as arrogance that needs to be checked. And if anyone can speak to the analogy of greatness, it's Stephen A. Smith. He can't dribble to save his life, but he is the Michael Jordan of coonery. His history of verbal violence against Black women dates back years. In 2016, he attacked Ayesha Curry after she tweeted frustration about the NBA Finals. Smith took it upon himself to scold her on how a wife should behave. He did not analyze basketball, he analyzed a woman's behavior, deciding what was acceptable for her to say as someone's wife. Meanwhile, he is not married. Stephen A lectured Ayesha Curry by favorably comparing LeBron James's wife, Savannah, to her. He weaponized one Black woman against another, suggesting that Ayesha know her place and be more like the silent, supportive trad wife he perceives Savannah to be. Smith even commented on their looks, calling Savannah something special, while qualifying that Ayesha is beautiful, but it was another passive aggressive dig, the language of a man who uses appraisal to justify demeaning a Black woman. His first instinct when confronted with Black women's experiences is to divide, to rank, and to suggest one is inherently inferior to the other. And now, in 2025, Stephen A. has sparked outrage again after criticizing Representative Jasmine Crockett's speaking style on his SiriusXM show. He described her as using street verbiage and questioned whether her approach was appropriate for someone representing 750,000 constituents, implying that Crockett's way of speaking was unprofessional or unfit for leadership. This is coded language rooted in stereotypes about Black women's expression and intellect. Stephen A. framed her communication as a liability rather than an asset, suggesting she consider other political roles instead, even though he has never been elected to anything except the presidency of the minstrel show. Stephen A. routinely overlooks behavior from male politicians while disproportionately chastising Black women for their assertiveness. Faced with public pressure, Smith apologized and claimed he misunderstood Crockett's cultural vernacular because apparently authentically Black is a language he does not understand because apparently he doesn't speak it. But it was too late. The incident reinforced a growing awareness that Stephen A. Smith consistently devalues Black women's competence and authority while cloaking his bias in the language of professional critique, even though he doesn't have the professional experience to hand down those critiques. Looking at these incidents collectively, a pattern of misogyny and anti Blackness is evident. And he is not alone. Last week, Joe Budden brought up Doechii on his podcast, suggesting there's something wrong with her, that she's not working hard enough, that her visibility somehow signals a decline. His intentions were as bare as a coked up naked man wandering the halls. He brought her up to stir controversy, to feed the outrage economy, to make money from the spectacle of disrespect. When it comes to rapping, Joe Budden cannot touch Doechii. He has never won a Grammy. He has never won a BET or NAACP award. Doechii has won all three. She is headlining her own tour, opening for Kendrick Lamar's GNX tour at select cities, and performing at nearly every major festival on earth, including Glastonbury, Lollapalooza, Austin City Limits, and Outside Lands. Joe Budden didn't even make it to Summer Jam lineup. The last time he hit a big stage was Hot 97 Jam in 2003, more than 20 years ago. As a washed up rapper with no material relevance to music, Budden's only remaining currency is controversy. He monetizes provocation. His podcast thrives on conflict, and he often generates it by aiming at Black women whose success and artistry dwarf his own. It is a classic formula. Pick a target who is visible, talented, and loved, preferably a woman, then insult her under the guise of critique. The outrage brings clicks, the clicks bring dollars, and the cycle continues. But beneath that cynicism is something older and uglier, the reflex of men who feel eclipsed by Black women succeeding in spaces they once dominated or never stepped foot in. When a man's legacy is shrinking, he attacks women whose stars are still rising. He frames their success as suspect, their work ethic as lacking, and their confidence, of course, as arrogance. What he is really fighting is irrelevance, not Black women. Joe Budden does not critique women like Doechii because he is a cultural authority. He does it because he is an attention starved relic. Curtis 50 Shilling Jackson has also built a long record of hostility towards Black women, attacking them as if his very life depends on it. And the examples are too many to count. In late 2024, he made another round of disparaging remarks about the new generation of women rappers, the majority of which are Black. 50 Shilling complained that too many popular women MCs were only selling sex appeal. He went on to argue that the dominance of hypersexualized content from women in rap might be damaging to female culture. Recently, when asked about Taylor Swift's new album during an interview with a gossip outlet, he went out of his way to shade Travis Kelce's ex girlfriend, who is a Black woman. She was not the topic, but he simply could not help himself. These men are just a few examples of Black men who all operate on the same continuum of misogyny and white supremacy. And they uphold white supremacy by attacking Black women under the guise of informed or intelligent criticism. They speak from positions that depend on proximity to whiteness, on demonstrating that they are not like the women they ridicule. They perform for systems that reward their cruelty with visibility and money. Whether it is Stephen A. yelling from a TV studio, Budden ranting into a microphone, or 50 Cent smirking through another tired interview, each plays the same role. At its core, white supremacy demands that Black women be quiet, compliant, and grateful for proximity to power. It idealizes a respectable femininity defined by submission, restraint, and deference to male authority, traits that have always been coded through whiteness. Within that framework, a Black woman who speaks with conviction is read as angry. One who asserts her boundaries is labeled difficult. And one who takes pride in her voice or her body or her skill is seen as indecent. The entire structure relies on silencing and disciplining Black women, both symbolically and publicly, to preserve white comfort. The message underlying the words and attacks by Black men against Black women is that a Black woman's ambition must always be softened, her intellect translated, her power tempered. The expectation is not excellence, but obedience. They reassure white audiences that even within Black success, the old hierarchies still hold. And until those audiences stop clapping, they will keep performing. These men don't care about Black women, and their attacks aren't some misguided attempt at constructive criticism or support. It's desperation, envy, and hatred through a gaze of white praise and approval, not Black solidarity. Joe Budden is a porch primate, clutching his robe over his naked cheeks, talking about the neighbors who live better than him. Curtis Jackson is a man so addicted to conflict that he mistakes cruelty against Black women for relevance in a white world. And Stephen A. Smith's Black pride and so called respect for Black women is more compromised than a BLM mural in a police station. More compromised than a Juneteenth sale at Walmart. More compromised than a DEI panel at Fox News. More compromised than a dashiki made in a sweatshop. More compromised than an HBCU homecoming sponsored by the NRA. More compromised than a Black pastor at a MAGA rally. More compromised than a civil rights documentary narrated by Candace Owens. More compromised than a BET award presented by Ben Carson. More compromised than a Wakanda Forever collection on Shein. More compromised than a reparations rally led by Clarence Thomas.